never believed the legends about the Whispering Woods until I spent a winter in the Blackwood Valley. It was supposed to be a peaceful retreat, just me and my 7-year-old daughter Lily, tucked away in an old cedar cabin miles from the nearest paved road. The silence there was absolute, a heavy blanket of snow muffling the world until the only thing you could hear was your own heartbeat. But on the third night, that silence was broken by something that shouldn't have been there. It started as a faint whistling, drifting through the frozen pines, a melody that sounded eerily like the lullaby I sang to Lily every single night before bed. I remember standing by the frosted window, watching the tree line where the shadows seemed just a bit too long. Lily was fast asleep in the loft, yet the whistling continued, growing clearer and more rhythmic. Then the sound changed. It wasn't whistling anymore. It was a voice. My voice. It was calling out Lily's name from deep within the darkness of the forest, using the exact inflection I use when I'm happy. It was a perfect mirror of my own tone, but there was a hollow, mechanical quality underneath it that made the hair on my neck stand up. I checked the loft, and Lily was still there, but her eyes were wide open, staring at the front door with a look of pure, paralyzing terror. I grabbed a heavy iron poker from the fireplace, my knuckles white as I moved toward the door. The voice outside shifted again, now sounding like Lily crying for help. It was coming from right behind the thin wooden planks of the porch. "Mommy, it's cold. Let me in," the thing sobbed. It was heart-wrenching, a sound designed to bypass logic and trigger every protective instinct I had. But I could see Lily right behind me, trembling under her blankets. The realization hit me like a physical blow. Whatever was standing on the other side of that door was not Fuven, and it was waiting for me to make the mistake of opening it. I looked through the tiny peephole, but all I saw was darkness. Then a single eye rolled into view. It was massive, milky white, and completely devoid of a pupil, pressed directly against the glass. The sobbing stopped instantly, replaced by a wet clicking sound, like bones snapping together in a rhythmic pattern. The creature began to scratch at the door, not with claws, but with what sounded like human fingernails, thousands of them, dragging slowly down the wood. It whispered my name then, but it didn't sound like me anymore. It sounded like a choir of a dozen different voices all speaking at once, distorted and hungry. We spent the rest of the night huddled together in the center of the room, the fire dying down to embers as the scratching continued. Every time I thought it had finally left, it would let out a burst of distorted laughter. My laughter. Lily's laughter. Even the sound of our old dog that had passed away years ago. It knew our history, or perhaps it was just pulling the sounds directly out of our nightmares. As the first gray light of dawn began to bleed through the trees, the sounds finally faded into the distance, followed by the heavy crunch of something very large moving through the deep snow back toward the heart of the valley. We left that morning, leaving everything we owned behind. I didn't even stop to lock the door. As I sped down the mountain road, I looked in the rearview mirror and saw a figure standing at the edge of the clearing. It was tall, impossibly thin, and wearing a coat that looked like it was made of mismatched patches of fur and skin. It didn't chase us. It just stood there, waving with a hand that had too many fingers. To this day, Lily refuses to speak, and sometimes late at night when the house is quiet, I hear a familiar voice whispering from the vents in the floorboards, telling me that it's finally time to come back to the woods.